All right. Well, welcome back to the conversation here at the Forge Contractor Alliance podcast. My name is Josh Eisworth. I'm owner of Ridgeline Roofing, and I'm here with my longtime mentor and friend, Kenton. And yeah, this week we're going to be covering a fun conversation around doing what you love and building your daily schedule around being efficient, but also being productive and not burning out. And yeah, it's a fun conversation. So thanks for joining us.
It's easy to say something with authority when you're in a certain stage in your life, and it can apply to you, and there can be a lot of integrity and a lot of honesty in that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it would have worked for you in earlier days.
One of the main components, I believe, in being a CEO is actually doing the parts of your business that you truly love.
But when you're a smaller company, I think, when you're wearing a lot of different hats, etc., I just think that sometimes you have to give yourself some grace.
So I've been looking forward to having a conversation with you about this.
Okay, let's go.
Because all the reading, everything we've been doing, all of the seminars I've been going to, and even just feedback from my peers, some of my partners, I've been really told what I should and shouldn't do with my days.
Okay.
And, leadership can look like so many different things. And I think what I've had happen is people have always looked at what they see online or how they see other businesses do it, and they're like, this is what you should be doing with your days.
Right.
When the truth of the matter is that's trying to force me into doing certain things that I'm just not good at.
Fair.
Or I just suck at.
Yeah.
And it's not in my, skill set. It's not in the area that I really love. But the hard part is that the things I'm really good at are things that we've talked about on the show. I love being on the tools.
Yeah.
I love doing face-to-face interactions with customers. I love building teams. I love high-level strategy.
Yeah, you do.
But there's so many more things that people think should fit into my role as leader of the company.
And you actually love branding, even though it's not something that you maybe say you love, but I think you're really good at it.
I think that's part of just building the company.
It is.
But I got to figure that one out.
But you're pretty intentional about the branding side. So I'd say that's something in your wheelhouse. That's my observation, at least.
Yeah. You know what? I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this year, as we're really hitting our stride, starting a new year, new season, potentially new systems with a merger and everything, I'm really intentionally sitting looking at my day-to-day right now, and I'm like, what should I be doing? And even with this potential huge expansion and bringing on a whole other team and merging it with mine, I'm still like, you know what? I still think I should be on the tools.
Right.
Because it's one of the things that brings me peace. It brings me happiness. There's a sense of freedom in it.
Sure.
And I love looking back at the end of the day and feeling that productivity. And I just really want to explore the conversation of one of the main components I believe in being the CEO is actually doing the parts of your business that you truly love.
Yeah.
And thriving in that and not letting other people mold you into what they think you should be doing with your day role. But so what I've done is I'm trying to create a weekly rhythm with my week so that I do site sales.
Yeah.
So I'm the outside sales guy. I don't build estimates. I don't even set up my meetings. I don't do any of that. My admin team does all that for me because those are things I don't like doing.
Right. And
I literally just show up to site. I meet the customer. I solve their problem. I present our solutions to their problem. And then, I get up on the roof. I do my inspection. And then I leave. Yeah. And then that goes back to my admin team. That customer is no longer mine.
You're cooking the food and you're not cleaning your dishes. It's beautiful. No, I'm just joking. It's good.
It's actually kind of true. But some people love doing dishes,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And I don't.
I actually find satisfaction in that. I just don't do it enough.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that's busy work. It feels like busy work to me, right?
For sure.
And so I want to take a couple days of my week and do just that.
Yeah.
Just hyper focus on that.
Yeah.
And then have a day of the week where I'm doing high level strategy, doing meetings, doing podcast recordings, doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then a couple days of every week where I'm not doing any of that. I am just running a crew, driving truck and trailer, being with the boys. A little bit of training in there too, being intentional about how I'm using that on-site time.
Sure.
But that way, every day of my week, I'm staying in the things I love doing that give me freedom and joy in my job. And hopefully I'm still being highly effective in doing that. But most of those things, according to almost all the teachings and everything I've learned, is wrong.
So when you're writing a book, you're taking a stance on something. You're trying to present an idea to the world, and the idea needs to stand and needs to have meat to it. Mm-hmm. And so you get all fired up and convinced that this is the way to go. Interestingly, when I'm listening to a book, which we often listen because we're driving to a job or whatever, so listening is a big part. And when I say I'm reading a book when I'm listening, I have pushback. So, okay, when I'm listening to a book, I often try, and even a podcast for that matter, I often try to imagine who this person is, number one. How much do I relate to the person as an individual? Mm-hmm. B, where are they at in their career? And people can say that they have an epiphany or like they've come to this knowledge because they're now at this stage in their career. But if you translate what they're saying and try to plug that into someone in a much earlier place in their career, it'll fail. Yeah. It'll just crash and burn. And it's kind of like I was having a conversation with my nephew within this last week. We had a great conversation around generosity and money and giving, and he was like, and he made this observation. He said it seems like most people that talk about money not mattering are people that have a lot of money. and so, you know, it's like Prince had that song, like, money doesn't matter today, it sure didn't matter yesterday. But the truth is he was filthy rich. Yeah. Right? He still killed himself, so whatever. But point being, it's like it's easy to say something with authority when you're in a certain stage in your life, and it can apply to you, and there can be a lot of integrity and a lot of honesty in that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it would have worked for you in earlier days. I have an investment guy that I listen to and really respect. Like, he's a straight shooter. He's got a lot of smarts, but he's 73 years old. So I do not copy what he's doing with his investments. I listen to his principles. I listen to his discipline. I listen to his mindset really carefully. I do not copy what he does because I know from listening to his stories that he operated very differently when he was at my stage than he does right now. Yeah. It's like when you have a lead in a hockey game. Like, this guy's done extremely well investing. When you have a lead, you protect your lead. You operate differently. Yeah. You don't play the same kind of hockey. And so I do not believe that what you do in your day today is a one size fits all. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's important to not give too much weight to any one theory because number of things, there are certain principles. And I think that this is the kind of thing that when we're listening to and trying to strategize on this, I think what we're trying to do is pull out principles more than pull out an actual agenda. Mm-hmm. Because the principles matter, like the principle of discipline. So if you're sleeping in till 12 o'clock every day and you're staying up till 3 o'clock binge watching something every night and you're squeezing in the fogginess of your brain, you know, whatever you can in between those hours doing stupid things, yeah, you're not going to be successful in most businesses unless you happen to fall on a cash cow, right? You know, yeah. But that's not going to work for most people. That said, I do know people who, I mean, Richard Branson, so the founder of Virgin and all of those massive, he's a huge guy. He did tons of his deals in his pajamas on the phone. Tons, like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And he was a late riser from what I understand. And I can be proven wrong, but at least at this phase in his life when I was hearing what he was doing, he would just be like, I don't care what people, he said, I make a lot of money and I do it my way. And he says, people don't have to know if I'm on my pajamas or not. He's like, I'm just waking up and I'm just getting things going and this is my rhythm in life. And he says, and I'll answer the phone and we'll make a deal. And, you know, and he was making big deals. And he's a guy that was a heavy hitter, but he had a different rhythm to how he did that.
And he was highly effective and productive with his time.
Extremely, but he's also extremely creative. So creatives have a different rhythm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, like he's a businessman and entrepreneurial, but it came from a creative place. And so I think that there are people who can work 19 hours a day on like day after day after day, and it's actually not killing them. Yeah. But most of us aren't built that way.
That's interesting. So I talked to Chris about this, and Chris was like, man, I really got to introduce you to this guy I know. He owns a trucking company. Okay. And he's just like, hundreds of employees, massive trucking outfit here in British Columbia. Yeah. And he's just like, he loves driving truck.
Right.
So the CEO, founder of this huge company, is still a truck driver. He helps with some of the high level strategy meetings and direction of the company, but his day job is he's a truck driver. And I was just like, and he found good who's. He's got GMs in place to help him run the company, but that's not what he loves doing.
And that's my first reaction when I hear that. I'm like, he must have good people on his team.
Yeah.
And also, he must be the kind of individual who is truly not a micromanager.
Yeah.
Like, he has to be able to give away responsibility and actually give it away.
Yeah. Actually delegate and trust that it's going to be done.
Because essentially what he's doing then is he is committing the admin side of his responsibility to someone else.
Mm-hmm. Which is more or less what I want to do too.
But on the flip side, with trucking, tons of time to think and to learn. Tons.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons I love to be on the tools.
Exactly.
I do my best. We've had some of our most meaningful conversations.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
On the tools.
I know I have friends that I literally cannot go out for coffee with because we are doers. And if they're more of a doer than me, it's like we just don't go out for coffee. So I hire them for a job and we work together and we get to know each other again, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then we don't have jobs together for a couple of years. I mean, I have quite a few friends like that.
Yeah.
And it's like literally, like, can you imagine Kevin Plouffe and me sitting down for coffee? No. It doesn't work, man. Like it doesn't work. I'm like a doer type of guy, and he's like a hyper doer type of guy. And so for us, if we don't need each other to work with each other, like we don't need to work with each other for any reason. It actually doesn't actually make sense most of the time, which is why we don't most of the time. But every once in a while, I'm like, man, I need an extra hand here. I wonder if Kevin's available, because just to spend a couple days, we catch up and it's great, and our friendship, continues to roll, and then we don't see each other for a long time again, because that's just our style. Awesome. I think that there's another component to this which is really, really important, and that is I just am a massive believer in seasons. I really, really, really believe with all my heart, like to the depths of my toes, that most of us, I would say the majority of us, are meant to operate in seasons. And what it means is that what's healthy today may not be healthy tomorrow. And you have to really be honest with yourself as to where are you at in your life, in your season, in your job, in your career, in your family life, all of those things. Yeah. A guy with little babies at home that is not giving more support to his wife during those times than normally in life, before and after, is, for the most part, short-circuiting something. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that's always the case. Sometimes there's women who literally like just let me do my thing with my kid, and like business as usual. But like there are seasons, and it may be for some people that when your kids are in their teen years, that they just need more of your time as a dad or a mom, depending on who we're talking to. And if you're not adjusting for that, if you're saying, well, this is who I am and this is what I do, and you're not adjusting for that, huge issue. Yeah. Same thing with your teams. Like, your teams need different things from you at different times. Like, I just think about your career. Like, there's times at which you had to be beside your key guys. It wasn't like, this is what brings me life. It's like, this is what allows us to survive. Yeah. Because you did not have guys that had the tools to do what had to be done on the job until they were taught to a sufficient level. And so at that season, if you're not on the tools, good luck. Yeah. Like, it's not happening. And then there's other times when strategically, if you're not in the office making decisions, that's a big problem. Like right now, you have to make some decisions that take some office time. And it's not just, and I'm not saying exclusively, because sometimes some of those things, some of the thoughts have to germinate for a while. And so being on the tools can really help with that. Yeah. But if you're not also taking the time to actually sit down and formulate the stuff, talk to the lawyers, the accountants, all of that kind of stuff, then you're going to be running blind. Yeah. Yeah. But even in this time, because I'm in a very high pressure time right now. Like, sure. I need to make decisions that have to work, or else it turns a good opportunity into a big risk. Sure. But despite that, it's just like, I actually need that time to not be stuck in the weeds in the office and actually have that freedom of being on the tools, feeling productive, because that's where inspiration really comes to me. That's actually everything that my company is now. I dreamed of when I was first on the roof, on the tools. Right.
That's where I dream.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sure everybody has their own space, but
Yeah.
I really
For some people, that's sitting on the can. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, or in the shower.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. I've had many places of inspiration, but I can name so many of them where I was on, like, just dreaming.
Yeah.
And getting inspiration, getting ideas. And
you do that somewhat through travel right now as well.
That's the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are probably the two main areas. So it's a huge win-win for me to have boots on the ground and be with my crews and, you know, showing support and love that way.
Yeah.
But then I'm also, when I'm actually with these guys, I can think, I've got a sense of clarity. And I think that's because, and this is what I would really encourage, this is what I'm encouraging Joel these days, is like, try and put yourself in areas that you love. And
Yes.
if you're doing things that you're just like, oh, well, it needs to be done, either hire it out or delegate it, because you will be, even though I'm on tools and not in the office,
Yeah.
my general output only being in the office 1 or 2 days a week, but having the freedom to be effective in other ways, my output is 10 times. So even though my office time is, like, the quantity of time is very small.
Right. It's more productive time.
It's like, by the time I do sit in the office, I'm like, this,
Yeah.
we need to make this move, this move. I've thought it out. I've had this idea. I've got this inspiration. I've talked with this person.
Yeah.
And these are all the opportunities. Hey, team, let's iron these ideas out.
Yeah.
As opposed to me just sitting in front of a computer, like, typing, like, how do I make this work?
Yes.
You know?
I mean, thinking time is critical. And I think when you're leading an organization, if you don't have time to think, then you're going to go to defaults really easily. And going to defaults really easily is often not the right thing. And so that's what separates, I think, a lot of times a leader from someone who's not meant to lead in the same kind of capacity. And so if you don't have thinking time, that's a problem. I know in talking with Joel, he processes a ton by communication.
Yep.
So for him, talking it through really matters. I think for you and for me, talking helps, but then we need to think about what we talked about. Like, there needs to be this space, this lag. I think that we're similar in this way, where, like, we can have a conversation, which is really good, but then we almost need a follow-up conversation, because in between we're going to, like, think it through.
It depends. Sometimes, if it's a big topic, we've also had conversations on the roof where it's just like, both of us have been like, let's do this.
Yeah, for
let's
sure.
Let's go.
For
it's
sure.
Just,
yes.
There's clarity. It's a no-brainer.
But there's also times when you're just going to have a conversation in your head to come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
And I'm like that. Like, I know that I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm pretty deliberate about what type of podcasts I listen to, because I want to learn.
Yeah.
And I'm a curious guy. And if I've got some time when I'm driving to a job or whatever that I don't need to be on the phone, I'm going to be listening to something that's good, typically. Mm-hmm. And usually it's not just escapism. Usually it's like, I listened to this podcast the other day on how an electric engine works. I had no idea. I listened for an hour and 45 minutes on how an electric engine works, and it fascinated me. And I learned stuff, and as I'm listening to it, I'm like, why the heck am I listening to this? Like, it's got from guys that I respect. And so they're curious guys. They have a podcast that just kind of explores a lot of different things. This particular topic would not have interested me. I would not have listened to it, but it's my guys. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen to them. I got so involved with it, and I'm like, how much of this world is there out there that I just don't understand because I've never given it a chance? It's crazy. It's a ton. And interestingly, I understand now why my cordless circular saws only work for a few months when I'm cutting metal, because I just didn't understand it before. I didn't understand how the motors work, and I didn't understand why I'm all of a sudden losing power. So they're still working, but not working well. They just don't have the power, and they're eating up my battery like there's no tomorrow. And I'm like, is there a problem with my battery? No, I switch batteries, and it doesn't make any difference.
Really?
Well, it's because there's just metal shavings on the magnets, and so it's just not going to read itself the same way. It's not going to have the same power. It makes sense. Like, so I'm like, oh. So I saved myself some money, because I'm tempted to toss these saws, but I've kept them because I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. Anyway,
do you know how to maintenance them now? And
yeah, totally.
Them?
Yeah, well, my son does.
Just from a random podcast you listen to, off topic?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, totally. And then I talked to my son, who works with metal all the time, but he works with tools that are meant to work with metal, whereas the tools that I'm working with are meant to work with wood, but I convert them to metal.
Yeah.
Long story, it works for me. And so now I understand. And as soon as I talked to him about it, he paused for a second. He's like, I don't have that issue with my tools, but he says, my tools are meant to work with metal. he said, I think I know what we got to do. And so we're going to process my tools, give them a service. And I'm pretty sure that they'll work like new. Anyway,
that could be cool.
But so my point being is that when I'm listening to podcasts, so much of the time I will all of a sudden just have to pause, just stick it on pause and just really mentally dig into what I just heard, because it'll bring something up in me. And I think the processing time, like, so if I don't give myself, if I just keep on going, whatever that thought is, whatever that I feel like is actually hitting me where it matters, if I don't give that time to breathe, then I'll just keep listening and the information will keep coming, and it may not actually provoke any positive change in my life. And so I think in leadership, we are constantly trying to move forward. We're constantly, and I think this is a key.
At least we should be.
I think we are. Like, I think if you're leading, like, how do you lead without moving?
Yeah.
I had an uncle who had a cap with 2 visors, and on it said, "I'm their leader. Which way did they go?" It's pretty good. But I think that if you're leading, you have to be moving. Like, you can't follow someone who's stagnant, right? You just can't. And so I think by definition, you have to be moving. And if you're moving, you want to be moving for the most part. I mean, I think we are more like sailboats than cruisers. Like, I think that we tack. Like, we're not always dead on course. I think we say that's where we're heading, but the compass will have to take us around trees or, through the waves. Like, I don't think it's a straight line, but I think we're moving. And I think what we don't want to do is be going backwards, because you're moving then, but you're going backwards. And in fact,
well, it's just deflating to your whole team.
Very recently, like, there was the national championship for the half marathon, the women's race in the States, just a couple weeks ago. The 3 top women following the lead car, the police got called to an emergency that were guarding the route. So they left. The guy who was leading the lead runners didn't know the route, took them off track, and literally brought them in. I think they were like 7th, 8th, and 9th at the end. They were went down the wrong way, had to turn around and then chase the people who went by them. Yeah, just because you're moving doesn't mean you're moving in the right direction. Big controversy, big controversy, because there's prize money, there's status, there's like places for on the Olympic team, all of those things. Yeah. Like, what do you do now?
Yeah, that just can't happen.
Crazy. Yeah, so just moving is not the point. Mm-hmm. The point is you want to be moving on course. You want to be moving in the right direction for the most part. Mm-hmm. And so I think that when you take that and you reverse engineer that back to your day-to-day, I think that there has to be some latitude. Like, I think that your days, because I know for you, there's times at which you're like, I'm walking for an hour a day, right? You do that at times, but not always.
I try and do it every day.
But you don't.
No. But when I don't, it's mainly because I'm caught up in the weeds and doing things I feel pressure, and it feels like, and that's like, that right there is the main thing. There's an hour of peace and clarity.
Yes.
That would be beneficial to me every single day, no matter what.
Yeah.
But because I feel pressure and under strain to do other things, I'll skip that to try and contribute to busyness. That's not necessarily a net gain. It's just me trying to fill roles.
Maybe. But also, like, if you're on the roof for the full day, are you going to prioritize your walk in the same way?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's because the roofing component and being on the tools and being outside
takes care of that.
It does the same thing.
Totally.
So
but if you're not aware of that, like, if you're just stuck in saying, I need to walk for an hour a day because this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
And then you're essentially wasting your time when you're on the roof for that day, because it's like, no, you're getting what you need from your walk, both exercise and mental, like, clarity from doing what you're doing, etc., is coming through a different source. So if you're not willing to pivot for that, then it's just kind of stupid, right? Like, it's because being habitual, and this is kind of funny because we all know people who just need schedule, who need rhythm to their life, and it needs to be the same all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad for this because, and these people are typically not entrepreneurial, because as entrepreneurs, we have to react, we have to pivot, we have to think on our feet, and and our days, no matter how strategic we're trying to be and how formulaic, man, almost all the entrepreneurs that I know are just like, their days vary. Like they have to, if there's a crisis that comes up and you're the one that's going to put out the fire, you're going to take the time and put out the fire. Like, I mean, it's just, you can't, if you're a person that needs absolute rigidity to your schedule, you can't join the search and rescue team.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Like you just can't. Like it's a different person. And so, however, but if you're someone who is like running a bus route or, doing something where, the masses show up and you need to be there, you don't want an entrepreneur. You want someone who is formulaic, who is like, this is what I do every day. I get up at 6:00 in the morning. I take 15 minutes for my constitution, another 10 minutes for my shower, and then I eat have my coffee and eat my breakfast, and like very formulaic.
Yeah.
And you can set your clock by them. But that's not us.
I'm actually very much that way. Don't you think there's an efficiency to entrepreneurs having, like, not necessarily like a bus driver or somebody where it's just like you have to be at every pickup at an exact minute of the clock, but man, I like, even with everything I just said, I'm trying to build it into a weekly rhythm where it's like, I know these days I can focus, because if you don't set aside a schedule where you have the ability to hyper focus on things, then you're potentially just wasting time. Like if you're changing hats every day to do 3 different jobs every day instead of having a job for each day, I would argue that the amount of energy it takes to switch hats throughout the day, you lose efficiency.
But what happens if you are, okay, so take my last few days. I'm in my flex season right now because I'm in between. My last big job of last year essentially ended this year just because of the weather and I was waiting for a guy and whatever. It just, and then they were waiting for me. And then my next big job starting, essentially my first spring job starts probably in about 7 to 10 days from now, something like that. And it's a big job in Quesnel, which I'm really looking forward to, by the way, because I'm going to get to drive 4 hours a day, which is kind of insane. It's a 2-hour drive from my place.
Whew.
And it's like a 3-week job. And so I'm going to have, like, do the math, man. Like, that's a lot of driving time.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really excited. It's a good way for me to pivot into the season. And I'm going to spend probably 2 hours of that time. Like, on one way, I'm going to be listening to stuff. And on the other way, I'm going to be talking into my phone and writing something. I don't know exactly what it's going to be yet, but I just have this urge to do this and just see what happens. So I don't know where we're going with it exactly, but that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. And so I figure I have enough time to do something substantial during this time. And I probably will be on the way home that I'll be talking, because I'll be thinking through the day while I'm working, and then kind of, we'll see what comes of it.
That's a good idea. I like that.
It'll be interesting. But anyway, so I'm in between. So at this point I need to do admin stuff. I need to take care of like certain details, but I had a proposal that I'm writing to business partners, and I had wanted to write it actually 2 weeks ago, but my thoughts weren't clear. Mm-hmm. And we weren't clear on where we were going. And it's a fairly large deal that we're trying to put together, but there's a lot of variables. And so I had on my schedule to write this proposal probably 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And in between, we had to go down to Vancouver to visit my folks. We had to do a variety of different things that and then all of a sudden we got some decent snow and decent weather for a little while. So we prioritized some cross-country skiing, because it's something that we'd bought a pass for cross-country skiing, and the weather's been horrible this winter for it. So we all of a sudden had a week. So we spent like a fair amount of time out skiing, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. And so it's a great way for my wife and myself to connect, because it's something we love to do together. And so I was just like, well, this is our chance. And if I was trying to schedule that across the winter, it would have sucked. So we just took the time. And then this proposal just kept sitting. And I'm like, and I have business partners that are kind of sort of waiting on this before we can take our next big move. And then the other day I was like, I told my one key partner, I'm like, I'm going to have this written up tonight. I just couldn't do it. For some reason, it was just not coming together, and I was involved with something else that I was working on. And so yesterday morning, I finally just sat down, and it just came, boom. Yeah. Like, it was just efficient. It was clean. It was precise. I think extremely helpful. I impressed myself, which is nice, but it was like really good. But it had germinated like almost to the point where it was fermenting at this point. Like it was like not just germinating, like it was like we were making kimchi here, you know what I mean? It was something that was like well thought through, and then it just came out really simply, very concisely. I barely had to edit it at all, ship it out, and now we can take action. So, and had I been too uptight about my schedule with that, my
I think you're more talking about a deadline with that, though, aren't you?
Yeah, but isn't that kind of a lot of what we deal with? Like, we have a lot of different deadlines that we're looking at. Like, you need to hire guys by a certain time. You need to have certain things set in place. And I think that there's a time at which your company is big enough where everyone has quite specific roles.
Yeah.
Where deadlines can be really stringent.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a smaller company, I think, like, man, when you're wearing a lot of different hats, etc., I just think that sometimes you have to give yourself some grace.
Yeah, you have to have some flexibility. I would argue more so with the deadline side of things. Like, if you're having lots of times where you're thinking and dreaming and work, like, not necessarily doing the work, but have the time to get the inspiration, which you did eventually get to.
Oh, totally.
I think what you're saying, I agree with, is if you have too strict of a deadline, you even mentioned hiring. I'm hard pressed for hiring right now.
Yes,
you just saw the big hiring, like we're pushing.
Yeah.
And you nailed it. I feel like I have this overwhelming deadline. I need this many guys by 6 weeks from now, or else I'm going to be losing revenue.
Yes.
But I need to know deep down inside, and I've made this mistake before, it would be optimal to have guys hired and potentially even trained and moving by that day.
Yep.
But if I set that as a strict deadline, I'll hire people I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be back to where I was 2 years ago.
And it's worse than not hiring at all.
Yeah.
And this is something that is a principle in my life. And it's not something I'm flawless with, but it is something that I really, really try hard to implement in my life on a day-to-day, hour-by-hour basis, which is just motion is not necessarily productive. So often, like, if you look at trading, if you look at, like, doing business deals, if you look at just jobs, for example, like, just taking a job doesn't mean that you're moving forward financially. Yeah. It's, in fact, there's one point in my career where my accountant was like, dude, the more of these types of jobs you land, the more in the hole you're going to go. and I, God bless my accountant. He's much, he's a heavy hitter and a good friend. And so we've had some good conversations, but he was so right. Like, I backed away from it. I'm like, okay, this is retarded. Like, I'm working, my team is giving her, we're producing huge volume and literally losing money on every linear foot that we're doing. That's not cool.
Yeah.
And so what I often look at is, I'm like, I could be doing this or I could be doing that. And if I'm doing this thing, but I'm not convinced that there's actually something profitable about this, that it's not actually taking me in the direction that I want to go, then it's better for me to sit and do nothing, honestly, which is really, it takes a lot of constraint because there's so much in us that's just like this engine that wants to burn.
Yeah.
And it's like, and timing really matters. Like, some of the urges that we have to do things in our businesses that are like, we need to do this.
Yeah.
Sometimes we literally need to sit on some of those urges for years.
Yeah.
Which is really hard to do. Yeah. I mean, the merger that you're doing right now, you would have loved to have do this 5 years ago.
Yeah. And I probably would have butchered it.
Well, but to be honest, we tried some stuff 5 years ago to prepare you for this.
Yeah.
We did.
This is true.
Absolutely. We did.
Yeah.
100%. And so, however, this is a bigger opportunity.
Way bigger.
This has more potential to do significant good for your company and for the company that you're merging with over the next decade. Like, it can be massive. Whereas the stuff that we were doing, I would argue, much smaller in comparison, but started to wrestle.
Yeah.
And so, but I think that often when I look at things, I'm like, from an investment standpoint, if like I'm really enjoying trading these days, like I'm really, really enjoying it and having a lot of fun. But sometimes the best thing to do is nothing.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best thing to do is just sit tight, and that can be hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe it's not doing. Well, to clarify, not necessarily do nothing, but just put it on the side and go do something where
you know it's productive.
Or you just are loving life.
Dude,
like, you got to get some of that.
Cross-country skiing, what does it do? Like, it's kind of nothing, but not really. Like it's huge investment in my relationship with my wife. We're 28 years in now, married, and so it takes investment because we want to be married for another 28 years. So it's a big deal. And so but I mean, from a business standpoint, that's not, in the middle of my business day to just go skiing. I mean, that makes no sense.
You got to separate your you are your business, just like I am mine.
True.
And I'm arguing that the mental clarity and the rest, and because you took that time and you invested in your wife, you're outside in cross country skiing in northern BC.
We have world
next
class
level.
Yeah.
You're
for those who enjoy it, and I do understand that there's people that are like, cross country skiing is the stupidest sport in the world. It's like the worst part of downhill skiing, trying to get to the lift. That whole scenario. But we love it.
But regardless, you take that time, and I would genuinely argue, because you took that time, when you are back in the office or on the tools,
yes,
you're going to be more effective.
100%.
Your health overall is better. Your mental clarity is going to be much more fine-tuned, because you took that time to do that sort of stuff.
Totally.
And invest into your family and just have more of a whole life.
So this is kind of my point, is that I feel like, and I'm pushing this point hard, but it's just, I believe this, is that I feel like seasons are critical, because if you don't have a season mentality, burnout so I don't think in my life I've been burnt out too many times. Not many times. There's been a couple times when I could probably say that, I probably had my foot on the gas in ways that, just overall, but for the most part, that hasn't been common in my career.
Yeah.
But I've had seasons where I really pull back intentionally, not with no apologies to anyone. And so for me, I think this is how I look at it. And again, shoot me. But I feel like in the high production, when you know what you've got to do and it's going to take a ton of effort during those seasons, I think you need to have a pretty rigid schedule. I think your day-to-day needs to have a certain rhythm, needs to have a certain plan. And I think what you're saying right now is you're going into your busy season. It's what are you, a month away?
Oh, it's already starting.
Kind of. Yeah. So you're kind of you're edging into, we're weather dependent, so which is where there's a little bit of hesitancy, but you're edging into your busy season, and you're looking at this next season and saying, how do my days and my weeks, my hours, how do those all line up so that I can be ultimately productive? And so I think it's fair to say, over these next months, this is what my day-to-day is going to look like. This is how my week is going to shape out. And I think that you can probably do that fairly well and fairly effectively and get into a rhythm that really produces.
Yeah.
But I think that to me, this is where the challenge comes, is that when that season is over and you've been pushing hard and you've been faithful and disciplined to what you had determined to do, you need to allow yourself a change of rhythm.
Yeah.
A change of what your day-to-day looks like. Because if you don't, at a certain point, the very thing that brings you life and production could also kill you.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially with our company being so seasonal. Because I do enjoy the winters that I have more time to shift and be more strategic. And what you're saying about seasons, I would reflect that, because our winter seasons, when we're still working, but I do recognize that in that season, I'm way more effective on the strategy side of things than I am actually putting on tools. There's just not a ton of work. We don't have as many students working with us. Our crew size is down. Most customers aren't as keen on us being in their property in the winter. Yeah. So I recognize that, and I do really enjoy the strategy side of things anyways over the winter. But what you were saying just had me thinking, and answer me this. If you are delegating and staying out of the weeds and never caught up in just busy work that you don't like, and you truly love every component of your job, can you even burn out? Or is burnout just a result of doing busy work that doesn't feel productive and doesn't feel like it's even in your gifting?
I think that burnout is often an excuse for just needing to take some time. I'm not convinced that burnout is as common as people say it is. I think about the incredible amount of productivity that people in past generations rather had to put out just to survive, just to do the basic day to day. I mean, you go to Hubble Homestead and you just look at what it would have taken to carve that out of the forest by hand.
Yeah.
Like unbelievable effort just to survive, leave alone produce. And these guys were also extremely productive, trading and like nuts, like forging your way into a new land, a new territory, trying to set things up, man. Like we don't have much excuse in this day and age for burnout. I think that it's used as a crutch, honestly. And if you're someone who adheres to a solid burnout now and then, I think rephrasing it as a season of rest would be much better. Reframing it that way, because I just feel like burnout is a possible thing. And I've seen people who are legitimately burned out where there's just a dead look in their eyes and you're like, whoa, dude, like have some coffee and do something because this isn't good. Like, I think it can be real. I think usually it comes from multiple pressures, not just inside of work, but also, relationally and like stuff outside of work as well. I think that it's usually tied in with more than just your day to day.
Or your relationships inside work.
Can be. Yeah. Like but I think that there's usually a relational component. But I think that if you're framing your life in, or giving yourself permission to have seasons, and I think that scripture is clear on this, like working 6 days, taking a day off, it's a scriptural principle, right? Like this is not a cheese ball, like do this because it's a ritual that God, I'm demanding of you. This is like, no, for your health, this is what it looks like. Then they went further that every 7th year, they would let their fields sit fallow, which even to this day is like, if you want your fields to be healthy, this is the smart way to operate. Mm-hmm. And then every 50th year was a year of Jubilee, which is like all your debts are forgiven. Like it was massive. And so there's certain principles inside of rhythm and discipline, but also taking a step back.
Yeah, rest.
And so I feel like if there isn't that component built into a rigid schedule, then that schedule is bound to fail. Yeah,
I would agree with that. The reason I always think about this so much is because I've experienced what is, again, burnout's a word that everybody uses. And man, when I started this company, I could work 6 days. I did work 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, sometimes 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that's doing physical high demand work.
Oh yeah.
And I loved it. I never got tired of it. I always took Sundays off.
Sure.
Because you just have to recover. And I had a family.
Yeah.
And Saturdays were usually on and off.
Yeah.
Like I didn't work every Saturday. Sometimes I would do quoting and stuff. But
the slightly sad thing is that if the Saturday was nice, it was more tempting to work, which means that you tend to not spend sunny days with your family, which kind of sucks. But whatever.
We loved camping though, so we always typically, even if we were camping, I would sometimes drive in on a lot of Saturdays.
Right.
But I just had pure joy in my job, and it wasn't until and even when I was growing the company in those first few years, where most owners get the relief from working on the tools and then they get to be the sales guy. That's typically the first transition. It's just like, I've grown my company. I've got reliable crew members. I'm now going to solely focus on sales and operations, and I'm going to have crew workers go do the work.
Yeah.
I didn't do that because I loved being on the tools.
Yeah.
So I stayed on the tools and hired a sales guy.
Yes, you did.
And it wasn't until the company grew to a point that I had to, and there were just such high demands, and I really didn't know what I was doing in my office, that I felt the need to be in the office and transition off the tools, that, man, even just operating a 40-hour work week, reducing my hours, I felt just constantly stressed and like I was crippled. Like I would get a notification on my phone and it would just come with anxiety. Just being like,
I
what
don't
now?
Look at this.
And
I've been there.
A season of that, never mind doing it and with significantly reduced hours, but just a season of that, I felt like I was burning out.
Interestingly, I think that being honest with yourself is important when it comes to setting up your day-to-day schedule, because for me, I love working with customers, but I don't love working with too many customers. Like when I was running the cabinet shop, many days, I did a kind of over a period of a month or whatever, I realized that I was working with 18 customers a day.
Whew.
And I hated that.
Yeah.
Because I just felt like I couldn't really give my best to any one of them. Like I just felt like I was just constantly shifting my focus. And that works extremely well for certain types of people. For me, I do way better to work with 2 customers in a day, like one main customer and then communicate with one other.
Yeah.
Like, that works for me. Communicating with 18, that really drained me.
So it's a rhythm, and you.
Oh, and so the funny thing is that essentially it doesn't look that different as far as what your focus is because you're dealing with customers. But
yeah,
it's like there's a lot of nuance in how you set up your day. And I think that this is where the generic kind of one size fits all, I don't believe in that. I think that you've got to be honest with yourself. You've got to do postmortems on seasons as well and look back at your season and say, what did I do well? What did I do poorly? And I also believe, and I know that we're getting to the end of this conversation, but I think it's worth noting that there's a lot of talk around, doing the stuff that you have the most aptitude for and that is within your wheelhouse, and that is, and farming out the other stuff. I tend to think that, well, every time that one of my kids is doing their schoolwork and is like complaining about doing something that they know they'll never do in their life, and every kid has this conversation. It's like, why am I learning this? My response always is, put your head down and learn this well. Like, figure it out. I don't want my kid who is scientific to make straight A's in English. I'm okay with B's. Mm-hmm. Like, it's okay. But get your B. Put in your effort, because I know my kids are all reasonably academic, so I can expect A's from them across the board. Like, if I was that person, I could definitely do that, and they can produce that for me. Mm-hmm. But what I tell my kids is, like, do the stuff that you is not in your wheelhouse, but do it to the best of your ability, because there's something about doing stuff that's outside of our wheelhouse that if you look at it straight in the eyes, you're going to see that there are certain advantages in that. Number one is it makes you more relatable. Number two is that you need to suffer some in your life, and some of that suffering has to be voluntary, not just involuntary. I really believe this, and I don't understand it. I'm not a psychologist. I don't get it completely, but I know for sure that at times you must choose suffering. I'll tell you this. Yep. I live on a homestead. We have a big driveway. Most of the time, I shovel it on my own through the winter by hand. It's not reasonable. In fact, when I'm doing it and my neighbors drive by, I feel a little embarrassed because everyone has machines for it.
Yeah.
But most of the time I do it by hand. Most of the time I don't ask for help. And it seems weird, but
do you have a snowblower?
We have a snowblower. We have a tractor.
But you choose to do it by hand.
I choose to do it by hand. And it's very hard work, and it's absolutely a waste of my time. But it is something about it is important for me, and I can't totally explain it. It is suffering. It's hard work, especially when the snow is heavy. Mm-hmm. And there's times when I don't like it while I'm doing it. But there's something about the suffering that is important for me.
Yeah. Well, I always say life has an element of suffering, but we get to choose where we suffer. That's why I go to the gym.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
going to the gym sucks.
But sometimes the suffering is forced upon us. I mean, anyone that's had to deal with like serious failure in their body that has nothing to do with them. I mean, genetic, whatever. Like there's certain things there's certain suffering that, can't be avoided. There's other suffering that we choose. And I think, and there's also certain inefficiencies that we choose. Like what I'm talking about here. And this, I fully don't blame people for hearing this and saying, well, that's just plain stupid. Like I'm okay with people saying that, but I do think that choosing certain ways of suffering that seems inefficient and stupid, but if it feels like this is meaningful in some way to you, like embrace it. Mm-hmm. And for me, making the time in the winter to just get up and shovel the snow and do that. And partially it's that I work very hard physically through the summer. So it helps me maintain more of an equilibrium. Partially it's because I'm 53 and I need to work out, and I prefer to do that than go to the gym.
It's a good way to do it.
Partially it's a way that I can stupidly feel like I'm serving my family, even though it would be more efficient another way. But there are just things involved in that I just think that, so I think that if you try to trim all the fat off your steak, it's actually not as good a steak. Mm-hmm. That's my feeling.
That's fair. I agree with that.
All right.
Okay.
Well, this was fun.